We are going to now talk about the brokered authentication sub-theme of information leakage. And for that, we have set up the PHP page for login.php, and we're going to go through that in a second. And another thing I wanted to point out is we have this PHP localhost server, and you can see that the command here, and the command, one second, we're gonna bring it up to the top of the page. So the command is php space -s space localhost :8000, and this will be in the notes, of course. So I'm working with the local install of PHP, and I'll include some instructions on how to do this. And this is an easy way to work on PHP locally without needing web hosting, without needing any kind of paid solution. You can just download PHP for free. If you're on Mac OS 10 and above, you should have it available to you. You might have to do an upgrade of it, but other than that, it should be good to go for performing this kind of development and testing. And let's look at PHP itself a little bit. So this is different from Rails in that there's not a framework that we're using here. We're just using the default language capabilities, which comes with its own templating capability. And what I mean by that is whenever we see this angle bracket and then we have a question mark, that means that we have started a PHP code inline evaluation inside of what looks like HTML code. Because of the way we are running it in this local server, we can expect the server to look at any PHP page and by default start interpreting it as plain text or HTML, serve it up as HTML to our browsers, but then it will stop at each of these and it will evaluate what's inside, and then it's going to continue with everything else outside of those question marks. So essentially our code, and this is actually pretty indicative, pretty symbolic of a lot of the PHP code that you might run into out in the industry, is there's sort of like, I guess, almost like a spaghetti of here's some code logic, and then there are some strings, and then there's some more code, and there's these if-else blocks, and there's different code being rendered based on which condition is met. And it might seem like a real nightmare to look through, but this is actually pretty representative of what you might find. And I'm not talking about, of course, every system. Like with anything else, sometimes there are systems that are well formatted, sometimes not. But the thing is, I keep hammering on the same point that PHP is, for a lot of people, kind of, it's the busy person's programming language. Sometimes people don't really program because they love to program. It's more like they're trying to solve a problem. They're trying to get something to work. They are trying to get a website up quickly. And that's when they turn to PHP. And that's why we sometimes see some really gnarly type of security issues in it. And so here we go. We're going to look at information leakage. So we go over and we do admin, and then we do test. Your username is correct, but your password is not. Okay, we're going to try again. And we're going to try Evgeny and admin. And there you go. It didn't tell me anything. And then if I try this, and then I try, and then I try. Okay, it doesn't tell me anything. It just doesn't let me in. And then if we look over here, we'll see that if username is equal to admin, and if password is not equal to admin, then it's going to say your username is correct, but your password is not. And go back and try again. And else if the post happened and username not equal to admin and the password is not equal to admin, then it's going to say both your username and password are incorrect. And then on top of that, if everything worked right, it's going to say you're logged in. Okay, so let's try that scenario too. You are logged in. Oh, wow. Okay. That was great. And then If we try test, both your username and password are incorrect. So we see that there's these 3 or 4 different scenarios that are happening, and we can use that to figure out exactly what the password might be by process of elimination. And that's information leakage, and that is, again, not good. And the way that we fix that is just we shouldn't care about these different conditions, these different scenarios. So all that we really need is, well, first of all, having these kind of default inline things is not great in your code. So, but what we really just need is to have one else, right? And then that else can just say something like this. So we have something along the lines of like login unsuccessful. And we don't even need to elaborate on that, and we don't need to put anything else in there. We can just leave it as is. So if we do this, there's our error. There's our first error here. So that's kind of why I sometimes have a real challenging time with this is I have trouble seeing all the little curly braces we need. So let's see, else. So perhaps we need to write this like this. Here we go. Else if post username not equal to. So basically, if there was some kind of a attempt to log in, okay. Maybe this will work. There we go, login unsuccessful. Go back and try again. We try again. We try with specific things. Okay, it's still the same. And then we do admin, and we log in. And that's how we remediate that information leakage.